The 1990 regulations, in our judgment, were drafted by people who had never visited, or at least evidence that they had ever visited the west of Hudson watershed or understood rural life. So it was going to create a lot of problems.
Farmers' attitude was, well, what next? I mean, we can't control the weather. We try and control what our animals produce, but we're working with nature. On top of that, we don't know what our product's going to bring. And so to have someone come in that has no idea what you do and no understanding of what you do and tell you how to do it, that really doesn't set well with people.
So when we received those new regulations, it was a shock to us because basically it would have stopped all types of development.
I knew there would be setbacks from a water course, but I never knew they would define a water course as a perennial stream. That meant anything that ran water, even a little bit, one day a year. That meant every ditch.
When you couldn't build a house within 250 feet of a water course, couldn't open up new cemeteries, the farmers couldn't spread manure within 100 feet of a stream.
We all live close to, with the mountains, the deep valleys, we all live close to a stream.
They banned many activities. It wasn't a question of, if you're going to do something, you do it in a certain fashion. It was, you cannot do.
I immediately remember coming home to my brother and my children and nieces and nephews on the farm and saying, I can't say it on TV, we're hurt, okay? We're really ruined by this. And that was the first time it set to my mind that they were pushing agriculture out.
For us, my wife and I, it's the idea that since the farm has been in her family for so long, we don't want to be the ones to make it not continue. You look back, all the things in history that this farm has gone through, and sorry.
Of course, they were doing good. They're protecting the water supply of 9 million people. And therefore, how could they do wrong?
There was concern about pollution runoff from farms. There was concern about potential development projects that could adversely affect the water supply. There was concern about new roadways and building projects. And so there were a large number of issues that would need to be addressed, not only to satisfy environmental concerns, but to satisfy the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, that in fact, on the whole, the measures that were being put in place would be sufficient to ensure continuing high-quality water without having to build these massive filtration facilities.
So we essentially, as I later admitted, carpet bombed the landscape in these regulations with best management practices, one size fits all, which of course was the traditional approach to non-agricultural source pollution.
NRDC did believe that a cornerstone of any successful watershed protection program would involve land acquisition.
We were basically a pen stroke away from losing 80,000 acres to condemnation. That was a non-starter for us.
It didn't take very long to decide that we had to get together and get attorneys and fight this.
So we thought that there were some opportunities, but the only way that was going to be sustainable was with litigation that was going to challenge the city at each procedural step of the way, because that's how you're successful typically in administrative litigation.
Those meetings did not go well. They were usually started in a shouting match and they ended in a shouting match.
The city is the biggest taxpayer up in the Catskills. It owns that land. It pays taxes on it.
One vulture says DEP. You look at another vulture, it says Department of Health.
Your regulations stink. They don't do what you said you're going to do.
There's no question that the parties began with more than healthy distrust for each other. Contempt would be probably the correct term.
No offense to many of my friends from those years, but politicians have sometimes different imperatives than farmers who just wanted to come up with a good program and get on with it. And in particular, the political class in the Catskills wanted to maintain the myth that it was all New York City's fault, so that there were some bumps on the road in negotiating with them.
But really, the key issue here was the following. They were looking at 5 or 8 billion, and we were looking at losing our businesses, losing our farms, losing our way of life. So, cutting through it all, this was a matter of where two sides started to realize they could cut their losses if they talked to each other.